Have you ever wondered why a young child or an older person are able to fall asleep so early and wake up so early? And why it is the most difficult thing for a teenager to wake up in the morning? Well, that's because it's their biological clock allowing them to do so. When you are younger, your clock is aligned more with waking up early and going to bed early. But as soon as you hit your adolescent and teenage stage in life, your biological clock shifts, and this determines your shift in your sleep cycle. So, beginning in adolescence, the sleep cycle begins around 11 p.m. for teenagers and continues through 8 a.m. in the morning. And so this is a little bit different from their schedule in school. Teenagers and adolescents, they have a schedule where they wake up usually around 5 and 6 in the morning, and then they are at school um, until maybe around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so today, what I want to talk about is why is this an issue and why schools should consider starting at a later start time that aligns more with their sleep cycle. And so most teenagers today, like I mentioned before, they're waking up around 5 to 6 a.m. and their sleep cycle doesn't even really begin until around 11 p.m. So if they're going to bed around that time, they're only getting about 6 to 7 hours of sleep a night at the most. And experts state that they should have around 9 hours of sleep per night. So they're not getting nearly enough sleep. These schedules that schools have are out of sync with their sleep needs and patterns of middle school and high school students whose brains and bodies are still growing and create a huge sleep debt every week of the school year. And so, it hasn't always been like this. About like 100 years ago, places of businesses and schools used to start the day around 9 a.m. And then the shift began to where began to start earlier. And then in about the 1970s and 1980s, that's when schools started to shift to earlier hours. And then that's when the shift started to become out of sync with the adolescents and teenage sleep schedule. So why is this important? So there's definitely a health impact that comes with not starting with their sleep cycle. And it's not just the number of hours of sleep, but it's the timing of sleep that is required for optimal health. So if they're not getting enough sleep, this could definitely impact their weight. This could impact them having eating disorders, having increased cardiovascular problems, diabetes, depression, anxiety, substance abuse, mood swings, behavioral problems, just many, many things that could have an impact on their health. There's also a safety factor as well that goes into this. Kids are walking to the bus stop or driving to school in the dark because it is so early for most of the year in many communities. And, a lot of these drivers are new drivers, and if they are drowsy, it could have an increase in them getting into a car accident, which is obviously not good. And there have been studies shown that schools that have implemented this an later start time have seen an increase in better test scores with students. They score a higher percentile on math and reading tests than students who have earlier times. They're more likely to get better grades and have higher standardized test scores as well. They have also seen that they are less likely to skip first hour or to be tardy to class. Now, some schools might be wary about doing this because having a later start time, there's a lot of obstacles, as there's financial constraints, after school activities, messing with family schedules as well. And there's some schools that have actually shortened their school schedule by 30 minutes so that it could help with avoiding those logistical issues that I mentioned before. And you might be thinking, why shorten school 30 minutes? How is that going to help with the education if we're shortening school by 30 minutes? But if you think about it, if most students are so tired in the morning or throughout the day that they're not even really paying attention, if they're sleeping through school, they're not focusing. But if we're able to change their schedule so that they are attentive through the entire schedule, I guarantee that they would be able to get more out of school and learn and focus better rather than having such a longer and earlier start time in their school schedule. So there are obviously many benefits that come with starting school earlier, and this can really lead to having a student's greater success. Students can't learn their best when they're tired and they have not enough sleep. And so I believe that if we were to implement a later start time, that this could definitely help their school success.